7 News, live from the Adelaide studios of Channel 7, with Graeme Goodings.
Evening after her second whirlwind visit, Black Caviar's returned home to Melbourne as she prepares to take on the world at Royal Ascot next month. The champion mare's being credited with giving the struggling industry a much-needed kick-start, and the SAJC's determined to make the most of it.
At Morphettville this morning, it felt like the day after Christmas. After 2 tastes of black caviar, Adelaide's hungry for more.
Trying to encourage families back, things like opening up the Apprentice Academy on a Saturday.
Her record-breaking runs attracted back-to-back sellout crowds. Police say the 30,000 racegoers who were trackside yesterday were well behaved. The SAJC's still pinching itself.
Historically, the only other real big days like these was Tulloch at Cheltenham in '61. Farlap back in the 30s.
The challenge now is to keep cashing in on the caviar hype.
It's not going to make me go to the races more or less.
Would you go more often, or?
Yes, probably, yes.
The opposition says the government should be doing more.
Premier Weatherall does not have a racing portfolio allocated to any of his ministers, and that's a great shame.
The champion mare's appearance produced a nice return. Betting on the tote raked in about 1.3 million in turnover, and that's about 25% more than Adelaide Cup Day. Trainer Peter Moody hasn't ruled out a third appearance.
This leg up that Peter Moody and his team and the owners have given us has put racing back on the front page.
Amelia Mulcahy, 7 News.
A police pursuit came to a crashing end at Paralawi overnight when a patrol car was rammed by the Holden Commodore officers had been chasing. The drama unfolded just before 1:30 and the suspect refused to pull over in Parafield Gardens. No one was hurt in the collision. Police arrested a 44-year-old Dublin man. Police say a South Australian man who died after falling 31 stories from a resort balcony on the Gold Coast may have been trying to escape from someone inside his unit. Detectives say it's possible 29-year-old Tuma Cousins was hopping from one balcony to the next when he slipped. They've confirmed there was a disturbance at the unit before he fell. It's believed one person may have been armed with a gun. Julia Gillard's refused to say whether she believes Craig Thomson's claim that he was set up by a union rival. The Prime Minister's back calls to look at beefing up rules surrounding MPs' behaviour following the scandal involving the exiled Labor member.
Julia Gillard tried to use Mother's Day to focus on family payments in the budget.
I think he's going to try the hard way up.
But she couldn't escape questions about Craig Thomson's attempt to climb out of trouble.
It was not me.
In particular, his claim that the credit card scandal was part of an elaborate union setup.
It's not for me to come to conclusions here.
The opposition's reached its conclusion.
Well, no, I don't believe him.
Backing Fair Work Australia's findings.
Mr Thomson used union money to engage prostitutes, which is reprehensible.
Independent Tony Windsor, though, won't play judge.
I'm not going to be party to a ploy that converts the Parliament into some sort of kangaroo court.
But Mr Windsor does want Parliament to be given more power to deal with similar issues in future. He's teamed up with fellow independent Rob Oakeshott to look at ways of beefing up rules relating to MPs' behaviour.
I'm obviously open to suggestions that we have a code of conduct and a clearer set of rules.
Alex Hart, 7 News.
Police in New South Wales are searching for the mother of a baby girl abandoned at a Sydney hospital just days after she was born. 3-month-old Lai Yi is being cared for by foster parents. Authorities have been unable to track her mother down since she left hospital and are urging her to come forward. Groundbreaking heart transplant technology is about to go on trial in Australia. The so-called heart in a box preserves a donor's beating heart for 8 hours, almost doubling the amount of time before the organ has to be transplanted.
A helicopter touches down at Los Angeles' UCLA Medical Center, carrying urgent cargo. Inside this box is an image almost out of a sci-fi movie. A donor heart, still beating. Waiting in another part of the hospital is 61-year-old Rob Evans, the man whose life is about to be saved.
Been healthy enough to be able to do the things I've needed to do to make a living, but not healthy enough to be me.
In an historic operation, surgeons replace Rob's diseased heart with the donor organ.
The new heart is working perfectly and everything just turned out great.
Until the so-called heart-in-the-box technology, donor organs were transported on ice.
It's like a clock that's ticking. You only have about 4 to 6 hours. Already a life has been saved in Australia using this technology. A woman underwent a transplant in Perth last week after receiving a heart in the box.
It means hearts can be transported at least 8 hours and arrive healthier, potentially reaching a patient on the other side of the country. In Los Angeles, Mike Amor, 7 News.
British bomb disposal experts have carried out several controlled blasts after police arrested 2 men suspected of plotting a terrorist attack ahead of the London Olympics. About 100 houses were evacuated in Cheltenham while the explosives were destroyed. Police are continuing to interview the suspects. Still in London, 11 people have been arrested as police clashed with Occupy protesters outside the Bank of England. Officers swooped on protesters who'd pitched tents, but some fought back as police tried to move them on. Thousands of people fed up with financial misery have marched through the Spanish city of Madrid. And there was a similar protest outside the Frankfurt Stock Exchange where fake blood was thrown on the statue of a bull. And for the first time in history, a dog has been crowned the winner of Britain's Got Talent. Pudsey and his 17-year-old owner, Ashley Butler, beat thousands of hopefuls with their energetic routine to the Mission Impossible theme. The prancing pet won $800,000. Is now on the way to Hollywood to launch his movie career. From breakfast in bed to flowers and cards, mums across Adelaide received the royal treatment today. This morning, thousands ran in the annual Mother's Day Classic to help battle breast cancer, while a rare few became mothers for the very first time.
For Adriana Asaric, an extra special Mother's Day delivery. Little Ava arrived just 5 minutes after midnight.
She's healthy and happy, and that's all we could really ask for. The best Mother's Day ever.
There was no breakfast in bed for these mums who pounded the pavement in the annual Mother's Day Classic.
1 in 9 people is diagnosed with breast cancer, and this is the way that we're going to find the cure.
For many, it was a perfect way to remember loved ones.
One of our dear friends and teachers passed away at school, so we've been out there every Sunday morning training.
My Aunt Isabel had breast cancer, and you just think of what they've gone through, and you think, well, running is easy compared to that.
Kids jumped on board, men were tickled pink too.
There's about 60 of us, and we all took in turns to egg each other on a bit, so it's been good fun.
Organisers say this year will be a record turnout, with almost 10,000 participants and supporters.
From inception, we've raised $10.8 million.
Melissa Wildy, 7 News.
Mother's Day to all the mums, especially mine. Right, sport now. Mark. The Crows' big win over Geelong has them even talking in Melbourne.
Well, it certainly has, Graeme. I think smashing the reigning premiers will do that. It'll have that effect, won't it? And they are being considered now legitimate contenders for the flag. That's according to the experts. Also in sport, the T-Birds win again. Pain in Spain for Lewis Hamilton. Plus all the AFL action as the Dogs stun the Kangaroos. And after a tough week, Primus's power shows some passion in the West.